And we're back, people. We are back. Your favorite sports podcast roaming the airwaves, rolling with Ramos is back. As I always am, I happen to be the one that holds the last name Ramos. I always and specifically want to thank my daddy for that one. Mike Ramos in heaven, I love you. Every day, I miss you. Every day. Episode 132 of them things. We are pushing to 150. If you missed this last week, sometimes things happen. Working with the elements. Don't judge us. Anyways, episode 132. I know a lot of y'all would think we pay homage back to Magic Johnson, but we're going to take it around a little bit and go to football. Jim Brown edition, episode 132, the Jim Brown edition. Now, as you can see, the person that I'm sitting next to, hypothetically speaking, because you're not in my house and I'm not in yours, but you are to my right or I'm to your left, depending on your screen. The person that's sitting next to me is a good friend of mine. It's not Tristan. Tristan's on location this week. He's not with us this week. But I always happen to call up the big guns. He always answers. Granted, he gotta let me know he got the time. You know what I'm saying? he gotta go back to the boss and let me know. You know what I'm saying? But, luckily for me, he has the time. Mike Patton, you're rolling with Ramos. Shout out to you and your series on women in sports that you allowed me to be so eloquently a part of. He had a lot of other women in sports on there. And shout out to all that you do. Tell the people hello.
Hello, everybody. And thank you for allowing me again to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful show. I appreciate you.
All right. So, as my voice is so elevated and so high, this is the part it goes down because this is the part of sports, Mike, where you quickly see, because we tend to forget, but you quickly see that, let me get my charger just in case my phone wants to act funny, But this is the part of sports where you quickly see that, it's bigger than whatever the sport is, and there's certain things that happen that, it brings back the humanistic part of it because we are all human. LeBron's just like me. He just can play basketball better than me. And here we are, and this is where it takes us. A memorial service for Dwayne Haskins Jr., who was killed this past Saturday when he was hit by a dump truck, will be held April 22nd in Pittsburgh. The service will be held at the Allegheny Center Alliance Church from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. with a visitation preceding the memorial from 10 to 11. Calabria Haskins, Dwayne Haskins' widow, said in a statement Wednesday, Haskins, 24, was killed when he was struck by a dump truck on I-595 in South Florida early Saturday morning. She says, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to every loving soul who has supported our family during this arduous time of loss. She says the overwhelming thoughts and prayers have been fuel for an emotional depletion. The meaningful touches and impact Dwayne made as a husband, son, brother, teammate, and friend is a timeless treasure inbred in our souls. She added, my husband was more than a great football player. He had the smile of a rainbow that touched the diversity of so many. He will forever rest and remain in our hearts till the end of time. He was the Heisman Trophy finalist at Ohio State and a first-round draft pick by the Washington Commanders in 2019. Haskins was entering his second season with the Pittsburgh Steelers and was in South Florida to train and bond with teammates when he was killed. Memorial services for Haskins also will be held April 23rd at a church at noon at Christ Church in Rockaway Township, New Jersey, and the following day at Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland. Wow. 24 years old. We both are happy. We both are lucky to say that we've lived to see 24, but he stops his life at 24 and has such a accomplishment of a life prior to his death. He was going. We all know Ben Roethlisberger has retired, so that Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback position, Mike, it was open. He was going to make a triumphant stretch for that starting role. We won't get a chance to see if he got it. How will football remember Dwayne Haskins Jr.? How will you remember Dwayne Haskins Jr.?
Well, I know some in football have let their voices be heard, and mainly a Mr. Adam Schefter and Gil Brandt. And I don't agree with how they went about it. I thought that was very tacky and rude and disrespectful. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about them. I'm going to talk about Dwayne Haskins, the person. With Dwayne Haskins, he didn't necessarily have a great career playing, but we're not about that. We're going to talk about what his teammates said about him. That he was always there. He was always, smiling, there, caring, being there for them. Sure, he had his issues playing on the field, but it's not about that. It's about the relationships that were there. I was talking to Emery Hunt this week, football game plan. He actually does drafts and goes over different players and their abilities and just assesses them. And he was talking about that he believed that Haskins had a very good shot to actually take the starting job, despite them bringing in Mitch Trubisky this year. And that he fully believed that, and with him working hard and doing the different things and kind of starting to head in that one direction, it's very sad that we won't see him eclipse that turnaround in his career, or that high point in his career, that triumphant return as you spoke of, because of his untimely passing. And prayers out to his family, and I definitely praying for strength during this difficult time for them.
It's crazy because drafting him number one, the Redskins Commanders at the time, and it was so much high expectation. And I think with the atmosphere of wanting to win so quickly and wanting to have success so fast, we let him go so prematurely. We didn't give him a chance. And then if you're looking at the scope, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, if you're looking at the scope of Deshaun Watson and you're looking at Dwayne Haskins, both guys that everyone says needed a maturity check, needed to, turn it around, and they're young guys and they got to give them time to understand and develop and understand how to be a teammate and understand how to lead teams. Dwayne, we saw, I guess, his fall from grace when he left the Commanders after such a successful time in Ohio State and all the high expectations. But after that, what you also saw was somebody dedicated to turning it around. He was dedicated to getting back to prime football. You never caught him in the media pointing a finger at anybody else but himself. And you saw this young man on a quest to try to prove that he was who everybody thought he was. And it's just unfortunate. There's been so many conspiracy theories. We still have to figure out what he was doing on that interstate highway. Someone saying they saw him with his arms up. There's so many conspiracy theories, and hopefully we'll find out the definite truth behind his death. But it doesn't make it even better, does it?
It doesn't.
I don't know where you were, but when that went across my screen on my phone, I said, "What?"
Right. I was at my daughter's flag football game. She was getting ready to go out there and practice, and I double taked when I looked at my phone, and I couldn't believe what was coming across my phone.
Shout out to the DMV, because shout out to him. He did spend some time playing in Potomac, Maryland, and it's just 24. These athletes at such young age do so many things at 24. At 24, this man was a Heisman Trophy winner and has played in the NFL. I was just trying to find myself still at 24.
I believe we all were. And the thing is, he had to do it more in a spotlight in front of everyone as
Yeah.
opposed to doing it in a lesser light like me and you.
Yeah. Memorials all around. The Capitals played homage to Dwayne Haskins. So did the Wizards on their Megatrons. Taken too soon. And what is it about Florida? Oh my gosh, Florida takes some. Sean Taylor dies in Florida. He dies in Florida. Oh man, it's just don't. Oh
Hey,
man, it's just crazy. But
can I say
gone
one more
too.
thing?
Huh?
Can I
Yes,
say one
Steve.
more thing? One thing I also want to address too is, Chase Claypool had a heartfelt, moment, you know, expressing himself as to what happened and the killing and things like that, and the dump truck hitting him, and he was crying tears,
Yes.
and some people weren't necessarily taking too kind to him expressing his emotions. And I need people to understand that man, woman, pro athlete, whatever, it's okay to express your emotions. Don't clown somebody for expressing their emotions because that's being human. He's grieving. He's feeling for his fallen brother. So I just had to say something there because that bothered me seeing some of those comments, and you wonder why some people are so bottled up and things like that, and then they bottle it all in and explode. This is the reason why, because people, when they express their emotions, people clown them for expressing them sometimes.
Specifically men, specifically even more black men. And you know what's crazy? You say that because although we lost the great Kobe Bryant, the beauty in that was we were open to experience how men mourn, specifically black men. You're turning on a TV and Shaq is bawling. Tracy McGrady is crying. And these are things you're not used to seeing from these guys. Allen Iverson is visibly upset and at All-Star break, and you can see him and Dwayne Wade embrace. You know, the brotherhood. People don't understand, yeah, these guys are competitors, but the brotherhood that comes from being in the league and growing up together and doing this together, it's a lot. And like I said, the beauty in watching full circle how men deal with their emotions. And we don't allow men to do that often. I think a lot of people, a lot of people laugh about the Will Smith and Chris Rock slap, but you're clearly seeing a black man have a meltdown in front of America, and it was taken totally left. Wrong decision, but totally non understood. So let us, like Mike said, let us continue to be kind to one another, specifically in time like this. Let us be kind to athletes in times like this. Dwayne Haskins Jr., gone too soon. May you rest easy. Moving forward to some lighter news. Now, as I put golf, Mike, in my notes, which I don't know when the last time me, you, or anybody else ever talked about golf in a long time. Golf has been going on. But in Phil Mickelson, we can talk about everybody, McElroy. But when this guy got on the green, the television was turned back on again. And you can't say golf without saying his name, Tiger Woods. According to Morning Read Golf at a Glance, Tiger Woods will play in 2-day JP McManus Pro Am in Ireland the week prior to the British Open at St Andrews, according to an announcement via the tournament's Twitter account. Woods, who is 46, who finished 47th last week at the Masters in his first official tournament since a serious car crash led to significant injuries to his right leg 14 months ago, said Sunday after the final round at Augusta National that he would be playing at the Old Course for the 150th playing of the British Open. Now, granted, he finished 47th, but how big was it to see Tiger Woods walk that green? Despite the finish, despite it all, at one point he was 3 shots back from the league, and you thinking, A GOAT is a GOAT, no matter what happens to him. In the event, you that innate nature to play. Tiger Woods, we watched him somberly a couple of months ago, almost proclaim that he would almost never know if he would play golf again. Mike, how big was it to see Tiger Woods walk that green?
I mean, it was very big to see that. I mean, not only to watch him on the green, but also to the symbolism of him fighting back from the different things that he's had to fight through. I mean, he literally lost his leg. People said he would never play again. Yet here he was out there again, standing strong, fighting through some pain towards the end, and still trying to come back and show everyone, hey, I'm not done. I'm gonna do this on my terms. And it was huge, and I definitely tuned in a little bit to actually watch him, and I haven't tuned in to watch golf. And
I
yeah,
mean,
I can't remember the
let's
last
be
time.
honest.
I can't remember the last time I tuned in to watch golf. I cannot remember at all.
His name is on the someone else is winning, and clearly winning, and we're talking about Tiger at 47. Now,
Oh boy.
now
All I can say
granted,
is go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
That's
go
fine.
ahead.
Oh, all I can say is just wow. When you have Tiger Woods out there, it truly does not matter who's winning or who's losing. You're going to talk about Tiger Woods.
He says he's going to play the big tournaments. Not sure if he's going to do the whole tour. Can he get one? Will he
No,
get one?
I don't see it. I don't see it. I'd
No.
love to see it, but I don't see it. I want to say yes, but just watching him, how he was in the last little bits of that golf tournament, that was that. Nah, I just can't see it. He's gonna start out strong, but the thing is, him having the endurance in his legs to finish, and I'm not sure that endurance ever comes back.
In the event that he does, and you have to bite these words. All you can say is Tiger Woods, y'all.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll take my golf clubs and ride out to Ted Rose Park, which is right near Tennessee State University, and swing a golf club.
It's funny. Even if he doesn't win, the closer he gets to the leaderboard, I don't know. Seeing him is enough for people.
Yeah, I'm seeing him. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, honestly, he doesn't have to win for people to be out there. It just changes the dynamic when he's on there on the course in general. I mean, just one thing I was paying attention to. Just look at the commercials. How the commercials are different for him compared to other golfers. They're talking about different stuff that probably some of us have never heard of or never even talk about. We're talking about Buick and Nike with
Yes.
Tiger Woods. No other person even knows if what these people are sponsored by in terms of golf. And then Tiger Woods is sponsored by Nike. That's pretty much all we know.
It gets real urban, doesn't it? Shout out to Tiger Woods. And look, if you rocking, I'm still rolling. I'm gonna watch or at least pay attention to you every time. It's crazy because the sport knows that itself. They understand that dismally they're without Tiger. With Tiger there, it's a whole enhancement. And everybody else, even everybody else around him knows that too. And it's just you feel sorry for everybody else, but it's also the respect factor of how the true dominance of Tiger Woods was over the last decade, 2 decades. Like this man controlled golf.
Yeah.
That's a testament.
I mean, it was amazing to watch him. And then you got people, I mean, no offense to anyone that goes to church, but you got people calling out not going to church just so they can watch Tiger.
Wow. Let's talk about your favorite subject, Mike. Before we get into some NBA, we know y'all want to talk about some NBA. Before we get into some NBA, the WNBA draft took place in New York. Ryan Howard was selected by the Atlanta Dream, number 1 overall out of Kentucky. Nalissa Smith went number 2 out of Baylor. Shakira Austin, welcome to DC, baby. She's straight out of Ole Miss. She went number 3. She went to the Mystics. Emily Engelsler of Louisville at number 4 went to the Indiana Fever. And they gained my favorite girl because Henny can ball. Shout out to Henny, Destiny Henderson. She also goes to the Fever. Shout out to the Gamecocks. Shout out to South Carolina. She's your reigning women's champion of basketball. So shout out to her.
Oh,
How
I
we
loved it.
feeling about the grading process of this WNBA draft? How are we feeling about where everybody has gone? I'm excited to see Shakira in DC with Cloud.
I'll tell you this. Looking at the grades, and I don't know if any Indiana Fever folks are watching, but I think they got a high grade because of the majority of draft picks that they had. They had 5 draft picks, but honestly, if you look at Egbo and Hull, they were both players. Lexi Hull, I'm sorry, is from Stanford, and then Egbo was a teammate of can't remember the woman that got selected by the Fever early, but they were teammates at Baylor. So you have 2 people that got picked a little bit earlier than what anyone thought they would. So kind of a little iffy there, but the other picks, I'm like, okay, cool, I get those, and Henny definitely is possible in Indy, and somebody's catching the pink slip because she's there. But
How good was this draft based on the South? Everybody wanted to talk about North Carolina and the men's final, but that South Carolina UConn game did big numbers for the NCAA, and it really truly sucks that didn't get paid attention to a lot. But how big was the draft in women's sports this year with such a big NCAA final? Not only an NCAA final, but such a big WNBA finals. This year
right.
has been great. The math's still not math in WNBA. We still got to figure out why y'all don't have no money. It's been how many years?
I could tell that one story. I can give you some thoughts on that, if you
Which
don't mind.
really sucks because look at these numbers. You have
Mhm.
a WNBA final with all the big hitters that you have in that one. Brittany Griner, please let her get home safe. We're still not paying enough attention to that.
Yeah, that's
Brittany
true.
Griner and Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird. You're talking Candace Parker. And then you have the NCAA finals with the Gamecocks, and you got UConn, and you got all these big names. And then here you go with this WNBA draft. But how good is that to see a continuance of eyes on the WNBA?
I mean, honestly, I loved it. Actually, that was probably the. I mean, I've watched the WNBA in terms of keeping up with everything, but I liked it that they brought it a little bit more live to us. I liked it that they have the analysts sitting up there. You got Rebecca Lobo on one side, and you got God, I'm forgetting names, and people are gonna kill me for forgetting names. But you just had the analysts up there, and I love that part of it. I mean, I know a few people that were actually there at the event covering it and working it. I was like, man. I will say this though, even though I'm gonna say I've got 2 nominees for the person that speaks to someone when they get drafted: Tarika Foster Brasby and Christina Williams. One of those 2 need to be doing that next year as opposed to the person that did it. But other than that, I loved it. It was cool to me. You had actual players there, looking at their team, drafting players, and them actually meeting some of their teammates right there at the draft. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. And I will say this though, also, in terms of draft grades, the Las Vegas Aces, I like what they did. They got a versatile power forward that can stretch the floor. And now Asia Wilson's going back to the center spot with Liz Cambage gone. So now it gives her all that paint and shooters all around her, which is huge. Then you got Kirsten Bell coming in off the bench that was at Florida Gulf Coast, and she can flat out score. So I love what the Las Vegas Aces did, as well as I will say the Sparks. I gotta root for my team now. That's my team in the WNBA. So
Okay.
I gotta say they did well. But even though people may say they didn't, I like what they did.
Even if we go back to commentary when Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird were, who knew Diana Taurasi? The mouth on Diana Taurasi, but even that was funny. She knew what she was doing. But
Yeah.
anyways, let's go into the NBA. And I feel like this show is doing this because we go back down the Richter scale because I am so sick of talking about this team and how much they suck. And they suck with all these people on there, and it's crazy. But they did not make the playoffs. They were eliminated. And as a result, somebody had to pay. CBSSports.com. Lakers do not make the play-in. The Lakers announced firing of Vogel Monday. That is Frank Vogel. The Lakers, winners of the 2020 NBA championship under Vogel, entered the season as Western Conference favorites. They failed to live up to that mantle due to a combination of injuries, age, a poorly built roster, and mismanagement of that roster. They closed the season with a 33-49 record. Now Vogel is paying the price for their failure and has been removed from his position as coach less than 2 years after leading the Lakers to the title. Today is not going to be a day of finger pointing and unwinding all the specific reasons. Sure, Lakers general manager Rob Pelinka said of the decision to remove Vogel, "We felt organizationally at the highest level it was time for a new voice. That's not to say anything against the incredible accomplishments that Frank Vogel has had. He was a great coach here, and he's going to go on to be a great coach somewhere else. This was disappointing. This was a disappointing Lakers season at every level," Pelinka said. Added, "In the face of disappointment, our fans expect more and our ability to construct the right roster. It starts with the coaches holding players accountable and making sure there's on court execution." Sure, Rob. Let's start with Frank Vogel, okay? A lot of people saying the Lakers win in the bubble wasn't really a real championship because of how the pandemic had to do it and the outside, and it's an AAU tournament style, it seems. So a lot of people saying that real championship, whether it was for Kobe or whoever they was fighting for in there, it wasn't real. Frank Vogel still led him there with so much star power around him. This was a frustrating season, but is it too easy to name him the scapegoat?
Very much easy to name him the scapegoat. Hey, can I address that though about the
Yes,
fake
please.
championship?
Yes, please.
Okay, people, I got to break this down to everyone. You got to also realize neither one of these teams is traveling. They're playing in the same place. No fans are there, so essentially, it's probably harder because you have no home court advantage. You have no people there, and there's no travel to places. So you don't have an advantage of staying at home and them coming to you. So I would say in that aspect, it probably was a harder championship than an easier championship.
Okay.
But as opposed to Mr. Bogle, somebody had to catch the heat for what happened. Unfortunately, it was him. But if you look at the roster, it wasn't necessarily the most well constructed roster. You brought in Kendrick Nunn, and Kendrick Nunn doesn't play one game the entire season. He's sitting on the bench literally the entire season with a knee injury. You have Monk and you have Carmelo Anthony. Now I love Carmelo Anthony, but the thing is, he's not necessarily a solid. He's not a guy you can depend on defensively. You can't have two guys that are hard on defense, not necessarily great defensively on the court at the same time. You got to have one or the other. But the Lakers chose to put both of them on the court, so that might be something that Bogle been more responsible for there. But other than that, you look at this roster. How is he supposed to win a lot with this roster? And especially if he can't control if AD is healthy or not. If AD is healthy, maybe it makes it more of a difference. They make the playoffs and they catch a rhythm. But other than that, hey, he's got to work with the pieces he has. And AD played half the season. LeBron missed a good bit of games, and Russell Westbrook never caught his rhythm with this team at all. And I will say this, it wasn't Frank Vogel that brought him in. So he can only do what he can do. He just didn't do it well enough, and he caught the fake for that one.
Live by the super team, die by the super team, and this has been the catalyst of LeBron James' career. How much is he to blame for this? This
Well,
is the
honestly,
team he put together.
I've heard differing reports on that because I've heard that he reached out to Russell and things like that, but then I heard another story. I heard another story that Rob Pelinka didn't want to give DeMar DeRozan an additional year on his contract because he wanted all of the contracts to end at the same time in terms of LeBron James and other contracts on that team. So with not doing that, that brought in the Russell Westbrook era. So if that doesn't, if he gives that extra year, then you may see DeMar DeRozan actually playing with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And looking at the season he had, I'm pretty sure he would have fit better than Russell Westbrook. So there's kind of differing reports there. But the main thing is, hey, LeBron's going to take the bear of the brunt regardless of what actually really happened anyway.
I was disappointed in Anthony Davis. I feel like,
Oh, I was very disappointed in him.
first of all, every time he goes down, you're thinking, okay, it's 6 to 8 weeks on this one. Every time he goes down, you're thinking, oh hell, how long he gonna be out this time? But at the same time, it's like he leaves New Orleans. He's this big entity in New Orleans, and then he comes to the Lakers. And we finally get this double team tangent of him and LeBron. He wins the championship, and somewhere somehow he just said, I don't gotta play like I used to play. But no, you are the guy now. It's LeBron's team. But you are the youngest one on this team. And for him to have the season that he didn't have, Mike, that was very disappointing for me.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. The thing I looked at with Anthony Davis is look at him. Look at him on the court, just physically look at him. It's like he tried to beef up this year and he didn't look himself. The thing that you do when you get older, you don't add more weight. You kind of slim down and tone up more. Look at what LeBron did.
Oh my God.
What's that?
I said, especially as big as he is. You're right.
Right. And the thing I would say that needs to happen this offseason, and people can tell me I'm crazy, but I said this last offseason too. He needs to train with LeBron. Do everything LeBron does. Because for some reason, LeBron has always been healthy or mostly healthy his entire career in terms of, the last couple of years he's had a few injury issues, but for the majority of his career, he's been healthy. You need to take what you've been doing, invest some of that money in your body and taking care of yourself and follow the exact plans that LeBron James lays out to take care of himself.
It's crazy the historic year LeBron had and the Lakers just trashed like this.
Yeah, it was almost like
the biggest year of his career.
Right.
You passed Kobe, you're number 2 in scoring. This man is still productive at 36. The way he is, it's 18 seasons. We should be talking about LeBron like, okay, LeBron, when you gonna hang it up?
Right.
You know how you know how you look at certain players by a certain age and you're like, it's hard for me to watch you like this no more. It's time for you to ride in the sunset. And with LeBron, it's like he giving Father Time that finger you give somebody when you like, yeah, okay. I'm gonna leave when I want to leave. And it sucks that this had to transpire like this. Will we see a resurgent Lakers team? Of course, it's going to depend on what their offseason looks like. Or will we see the last couple of years of a falter? This is a total remake. Does Westbrook leave? And who takes that contract on?
Well, I was actually talking with one of my friends. Shout out to Danny Thompson.
Yes.
Well, I was talking to Danny, and he had a nice, quiet little idea for me.
Okay.
You ready? Are you ready to hear this?
Yes, I am ready to hear
All right.
this.
Russell Westbrook's probably not going to go anywhere. Just my thinking. But he did throw the idea out there that Mr. Gordon Hayward, apparently there's talk out there that he's not happy. He wants out of Charlotte. Okay. So here's the idea I throw out there. He threw at me. A Gordon Hayward and a Terry Rozier to L.A. for a Russell Westbrook in Charlotte. Wow. Now, I'll say this. It's probably contingent on Russell Westbrook taking a buyout or something because I don't think he would last very long being alongside LaMelo Ball. But that's what I gather. That other than that, I've got no other things. And the funny thing is, he was almost traded this past season for John Wall, who he had been traded for before.
How did that work out, Wizards?
Whew.
You thought you were going to get the same guy. Look what you did to your backcourt. You let go of your franchise based on an assumption, not even giving John Wall a chance to come back to see what he will be even look like. And Bradley Beal, as great as he is, you still didn't find a way to build around him. And when you did, it worked for a minute and it didn't. Shout out to that. And no star wants to go to DC. I'm sorry. Bradley Beal isn't as alluring as John Wall. But anyway, we've heard you bring up Gordon Hayward. It's been so long. Who knew that experiment in Boston wasn't going to work out? Oh my God. In Utah, he was the man. And then here we go, and he literally walked on the court and got hurt. And we never saw what happened, what we were looking to see in Boston. And then when he came back, it was just an unorthodox situation. And I haven't said Gordon Hayward's name in a long time. But
I'll say
Mark
this.
Jackson, there's rumblings of Mark Jackson.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've also heard Quinn Snyder and Nick Nurse. So I actually like the idea of Nick Nurse being the coach out there. I like that idea.
Well, in true LA fashion of Hollywood, we'll continue to talk about the Lakers all summer now, won't we? Talking about the people that are actually playing. Nets, 115-108. Ramadan Kyrie Irving, 34 points, 12 assists. How we feeling about the Nets? Who have to go play in Boston? Now, I will say this. Kyrie better be playing like this after all the time that he's had off. Let's be real. And two, I want to see, because this is the after effects, Mike, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is the after effects of trading for a guy like James Harden. What happens is you empty out your clip. We got to see what Steph Curry does, but you empty out your clip, which means the bench is depleted at this point in time. And here we are looking at Kevin Durant, who's already had so much mileage on him in the season anyway. Thank God Kyrie can actually be there full throttle. But now you're seeing the fact that how the hell are they going to do this every night against Boston? And I'm not saying that Boston is the Boston that they were a year ago. But how can they do that against Boston, the starting five against Boston, and do it repetitively against a Boston team whose defense is decent?
Honestly, they're going to have to get some points from as Shaq calls them, the others. The others are going to have to show up. Patty Mills is going to have to show up. Let's see who else. Seth Curry is going to have to show up, and then there's a particular gentleman that's hasn't played all season but wants to play in the playoffs. That actually might show up in Game 4 in dramatic fashion, as I might add. So they're going to have to get the others to step up. And, Ben Simmons, if people are expecting him to come back and save the day, you also got to remember he can't hit a free throw. He can't hit a jump shot. The best impact he's going to have is on defense, trying to stop people, which they're going to need that against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're definitely going to need that against those two because they're playing at an unbelievable level right now, not only offensively, but just not only scoring, I should say, but being playmakers and also being leaders. And they're finally accepting Ime Udoka and his criticisms and his ability to push them to be better and demand them to be better players.
There's a team that I'm going to talk about two other teams because of course we got to talk about the play-in. But as of special request, this team did not play yet. We're still waiting for them in the first round. But how are we looking at Philly? Is this Philly's year to do this? Because this process has been too damn long of a process. Okay, this got to work. Will we see Philly at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. No on both fronts. Here's why I'm going to say no on both fronts. I'm not sure they get past Toronto.
Wow.
Here's why. You look at that team this year. Who's going to guard? Who's really guarding Siakam? who's got Scotty Barnes. They've got guys coming in off the bench. They've got championship medal on that team. And Gary Trent is the guy that nobody's talking about on that team, that if he's hot, it's trouble. And then also you got to remember one key bit of evidence going into this entire series. Thibault is not vaccinated, so he cannot play in Toronto. So that's your best perimeter defender not available to play a potential 3 games in Canada. So with all that going around and with James Harden's playoff struggles, especially when the pressure is on, I think Toronto is actually going to beat them in the first round and start the mass mess that is going to be Philly in the offseason.
And the Liberty Bell will fall and everybody will lose their mind. And I can't wait. You know, everybody talks about Stephen A. Smith like a dog, but let's be real. This man deserves a lot of respect. I cannot wait to hear what he says when that happens. Timberwolves beat the Clippers 109-104. The story in this one, Mike, you probably already know where I'm going with this. He had 7 points, but he cried and went off like he won the NBA championship, and this was the play-in. What the hell are you doing, Patrick Beverly?
I like
this
it
all the time.
I actually like some of it. I like some of it.
It's a setup for a loss because I want that same energy. And thank God he didn't beat LeBron, because if he did, we hear about this even next year. But I mean, you love the enthusiasm. Come on, dude, just a play. It was funny on NBA Countdown and on the jump though. That was funny when he was talking to Malika and them. That was funny. But you know, what the hell?
I actually liked it. I liked it in some senses because I was like, man, you know, it gave me a nice good laugh. And you know, I'm watching this and I'm like, he's standing on tables like he just won a title, throwing his shirt in the crowd, he crying. I mean, I was like, wow. You know, and then the thing I love the most is, you know, Twitter is undefeated when it comes to this. They had the music going in the background like this was Coach Carter and him jump. I was like, man, this is awesome. I love this. It's a cinematic greatness. Can someone please play this every day so I can get a nice laugh and just go about my day knowing everything's gonna be all right. But wow. I mean, that was a heck of a celebration. But you know, the biggest winners are us for the playoffs, because now we get to see Anthony Edwards at the mic and we get to see Patrick Beverly just lose his mind just a little bit.
But did I miss something? Did he have a harsh year? Did he overcome something to be crying like that? Did he go through something personally?
He well, in talking after the game, of course, you know, he said, you know, he felt like he got discarded by the Los Angeles Clippers and thrown in the trash. So that was probably where a lot of the emotion came from for him. Which, hey, I get it. You had a personal vendetta, and he surely let them know about it. But boy, oh boy, he was parading around there. He paraded more around there. He paraded more around there than Derrick Rose did when he had the 50-plus point game in Minnesota.
All I could think about as he's doing all these theatrics and crying is all these. It's like I had a flashback of championship celebrations, but this wasn't a championship. All I can think of is Kevin Garnett. Anything's possible. I'm thinking Kobe standing on the scores table and the confetti flying in his arms like this. Like, and I'm like, this isn't even that moment.
I liked it. I mean, I liked it, but yeah, he did go a little bit overboard. And then, you know, but the best thing he did though is after the game, when he was sitting in the press conference with Anthony Edwards, he had the Budweiser sitting there, because now he's probably going to get money from Budweiser to have that happen every game
now. I don't know what to do with Patrick Beverly, man. I don't know nobody.
You love him and hate him. You love him and hate him.
Oh my gosh. You would have thought he won the 7 game series. I don't even want to see Minnesota go into the playoffs if the way he rocking. You gonna do this every accomplishment?
He
Oh my
probably
gosh.
does. He probably does. The funniest thing about him is, and then nobody knows
And
about
he
this.
really don't care neither.
Yeah, he doesn't. He really doesn't. But the funniest thing about him that nobody really talks about is, everybody talks about his defense and things like that. When he was in college at the University of Arkansas, he was actually one of the top scorers in the SEC. So he can actually score. He just got to the NBA and decided, oh, well, forget that. I'm gonna be this guy.
Well, hey, don't he the underdog. Don't knock the underdog because he'll come bite you when he get what he wants. What the hell was that, Patrick? Now every time this man does something, you gotta expect this horrific
Yeah,
celebration. Oh my god!
yeah, he's gonna go overboard about every single time. He's gonna seize that moment.
And he got more airtime because of how theatrical it was. Eh, that's why he was on the jump. And he was like, "When did you think of this the night before?" Somebody said, like
He said the
he's
night before.
confident. He's confident in the celebration. Anyways, last but not least, there wasn't a lot to talk about in sports this week. Granted, Dwayne Haskins goes across the screen is like, what? And then everything else kind of, this is the first week I've planned a show where it kind of fell into my lap this easy. But anyways, back-to-back playing losses for the Hornets. They lose to the Hawks 132 to 103. Trey Young says, let's see what the Hawks do in the playoffs.
I'll say this. That had to sting if you're the Hornets fan. Good gracious. That's 2 years in a row y'all got dog walked in a playing game. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, there's people yelling, talking about that Borrego needs to be fired and all those different things or whatever. It's just a lot of mess. And then also you have that looming question: do they pay Miles Bridges this offseason?
Wow. Like I said, this show fell into my lap. What, excuse me, a lot to talk about in sports this week, but we handle it. Mike, tell the good people where they can find you and your beautiful work.
Well, you can find me, of course, on Twitter, of course, at
All the
Mike
time.
Patton 82. I'm out there. You'll see me. If you don't see me, I'll see you. But but and then
Trademark
also
that. That was a line.
what's that?
You got barred. Trademark that. That was a line. You got barred.
I don't know. I'm taking notes over here. I got my pen out. But as far as my show, you can catch me touring the ASC South. It's usually 1 to 2 times a week. We're bumping it up to 2 times a week now. We're gonna do 2 times a week. We're gonna give you a weekday show and give you a weekend show. So yeah, that's where you can find me on all listening platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever. I'm there.
You give yourself some more work, homework. And I'm going to say it like I said every week. Next week, we will not have a show. Going on vacation. But after that, me and the boy Tristan, we're back and we're ready to go. We're wearing episode 133. I'm going to say it like I said every week, and I don't care if it doesn't rhyme. It is still mine. I'm Mikkel, Kevin and Mikkel. America. Deuces. Peace.